All right. Hey, everybody. Trying something new. Instead of just recording this on my machine and doing very, very little in post, I decided to try to stream live to YouTube instead. Thought this might be a fun change of pace. See how it works. If you like it, leave me a comment. Let me know if you would like this more often. Maybe we can schedule these ahead of time so that folks can tune in while I am streaming live. But let's go ahead and dive in. Today we are discussing the champion, which, as I have come to understand it, is the paladin of sorts in Pathfinder. So let's take a look. First off, love the art. This is very uh, kind of almost. I feel like the paladin slash champion is one of the probably most well understood when you think of visually. Like you pretty much you have an assumption of what a champion paladin is going to look like. I'm interested to see if any of the interior art inside the class or the examples that have been included, what the different builds look like, and if Pathfinder and Paizo bring anything like visually kind of cool, different to the class. I'm also interested to see if Smite exists as a thing in Pathfinder. As you know, I have my only experience with a D20 system is D&D 5th edition. I have no experience with D&D 3 or 3.5, no experience with Pathfinder 1st edition. I don't even know the history of Smite to know if it like how far back does Smite go as a paladin feature. So I'm excited to see what makes the champion and the paladin, the champion, I'm going to try to refer to it as the champion from now on. The champion, what makes it different from just a fighter? Does it live somewhere in between fighter and cleric, or does it have some uniqueness to it? So let's test it out and look at it. Emissary of a deity, devoted servant, weighty mantle, adhere to a code. Champion success for every alignment. Adventurers are kind of assumed to be a champion of good. Yeah, I think that. Agreed. Key ability is strength or dex. Okay. So you can choose when you select this class as your class, which is interesting, and then 10 plus con modifier for your hit points. During combat encounters, you confront enemies in hand-to-hand combat while carefully positioning yourself to protect your allies. Interesting that it says during combat encounters that you're hand-to-hand, but the key ability is you're allowed to kind of focus on dex if you wanted to. I don't know if there's like a finesse style weapon where it's a hand-to-hand, a melee weapon that allows you to use your dex modifier instead of your normal strength modifier. But maybe we can take a look at that depending on how quickly we get through this class. During social encounters, you're a voice of hope, striving to reach a peaceful solution that strengthens bonds and yields good results for all. While exploring, you overcome barriers, both physical and spiritual, providing inspiration to your allies through your actions. Okay. And when your fellow adventurers ask for it, providing moral and ethical guidance. I like that it is qualified, the providing moral and ethical guidance, qualified when asked for it. Love that. In downtime, you spend much of your time in solemn prayer and contemplation, rigorous training, charity work, and fulfilling the tenets of your code. But that doesn't mean that there isn't time to take up a craft or hobby. You might believe that there is always hope that good will triumph over evil, no matter how grim the odds. Know the odds don't justify the end. Start over. You might know the ends don't justify the means, since evil acts increase the power of evil. Okay? You might have a strong sense of right and wrong and grow frustrated when greed or short-sightedness breeds evil. Others probably see you as a symbol of hope, especially in a time of great need. Worry you secretly despise them for not living up to your impossible standard, or that you are unwilling to compromise when necessary. Or know that you've sworn divine oaths of service that they can trust you to keep. All that sounds kind of what I expected. Trained in perception, expert in fortitude and will saving throws, Trained in religion, one skill determined by your choice of deity. Interesting. I wonder if that's like a type of deity, or if it's actually like each deity in the included pantheon has a skill that you're trained in. Trained in a number of skills equal to 2 plus your intelligence mod. So that's the lowest skill trainings that you get at level 1 that we have seen so far. But that makes sense. We have seen the alchemist and the bard so far, and those are 2 skill heavy classes. Trained in simple martial and unarmed weapons, you're trained in all armor, the champion class DC, and then you are trained in divine spell attacks and the divine spell DC. All makes sense. Champion's code. You follow a code of conduct shared by all champions of an alignment such as good, and continuing with tenets of your cause. Deities often add additional strictures. For instance, Thorax champions can't show mercy to enemies of their people, making it almost impossible for them to follow the Redeemer cause. Okay, so there's going to be a cause that they pick. Only rules for good champions appear in this book. Tenets. I'm sure that Paizo will release rules for neutral or evil champions. Don't you worry. If a situation places 2 tenets in conflict, you aren't in a no-win situation. Instead, follow the more important tenet. For instance, as a paladin. So a paladin is a type of champion. So we really can't confuse those 2 terms. So here on out, if I refer to a champion, it is the class here in Pathfinder. As a paladin, if an evil king asked you if you're hiding refugees so he could execute them, you could lie to him, since the tenet against lying is less important than preventing harm to innocents. Trying to subvert your code by creating a situation that forces a higher tenet to override a lower, for example, promising not to respect authorities and then to keep your word disrespecting authorities, is a violation. So you can't manipulate your situation to try to game the rules. But again, I honestly don't think a real good champion would want to. I find it's almost more interesting to be straightforward, because I think it's such a what's the right word I'm looking for? It's almost a trope at this point for the soft paladin, or the soft champion. I did it again. The soft, and that's not even the right. Like they are pious, but they don't want to throw it in your face. And I think that's a little bit of exterior world kind of coming in on us. Of course, in the real world, we don't want to force beliefs on one another. That isn't great, but I almost think it's more interesting to play paladin. It's like, yes, like these are the tenets, and I think the world would be a better place if everybody followed them, and I'm going to do my best to encourage you to follow the tenets that I follow. The perfect example of a champion in a work of fiction, if you're interested, in modern pop culture, is Michael Carpenter in Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files. As a person of former person of faith, I guess, to use proper English, really interesting to see such a strong religious individual who is still friends with Chicago's only practicing wizard. If you've not read Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series, your D&D games would be better after you read these books. But there's also a Dresden Files role-playing game put out by Evil Hat that uses the Fate Core, which is probably my favorite system, period, even above 5th edition. So yeah, side story. If If you stray from your alignment or violate your code of conduct, you lose your focus pool and divine ally until you demonstrate your repentance by conducting an atone ritual that there is an actual mechanical ritual for. But you can keep any other champion abilities that don't require those class features. If your alignment shifts but is still one allowed by your deity, your GM might allow you to retrain your cause while still following the same deity. All right, and here's our tenets for good champions. Never perform acts anathema to your deity or willingly commit an evil act such as murder, torture, or the casting of an evil spell. First thought is, how do we define murder? Is the killing of a evil soldier on the battlefield, is that considered murder? Philosophical questions for you, the GM, and the player of a potential champion. You must never knowingly harm an innocent or allow immediate harm to one through an action when you know you could reasonably prevent it. This tenet doesn't force you to take action against possible harm to innocents at an indefinite time in the future or to sacrifice your life to protect them. Interesting. It doesn't force you to sacrifice your life to protect them. Kind of creating this situation where it is okay to put, maybe knowing that you would potentially save more people if you stayed alive than saving one individual by sacrificing yourself. But that would be a choice that every specific champion would probably have to make, I think. Choose a deity to follow. They're listed later, so we're going to definitely look at that. Look at the different deities. Your alignment must be a one allowed for followers of your deity. You probably need to make the decision of a deity first, almost, or know that I want to play a lawful good paladin, and then be able to look. But you need to do those at the same time. A few examples of acts that would be considered anathema appear in each deity's entry. Very cool. And then you can determine if there's other acts. Very cool. You have one of the following causes. Your cause must match your alignment exactly. Your cause determines your champion's reaction, grants you a devotion spell, and defines part of your champion code. So paladins, lawful good champions, honorable, forthright, and committed to pushing back the forces of cruelty. You gain the retributive strike champion's reaction and the lay on hands devotion spell. After the tenets of good, add these tenets: act with honor, never taking advantage of others, lying or cheating. Respect the lawful authority of legitimate leadership wherever you go and follow its laws. So because these tenets of being a lawful good paladin come kind of after the general tenets of good, like in the example they noted previously, it is okay to disrespect lawful authority of a legitimate leadership if telling the truth would potentially harm innocents. Redeemer, neutral good. You are full of kindness and forgiveness. You gain the glimpse of redemption champion's reaction and the lay on hands devotion spell. So both so far have gotten lay on hands. After the tenets of good, add these. You must first try to redeem those who commit evil acts rather than killing them or meting out punishment. If they then continue on a wicked path, you might need to take more extreme measures. You must show compassion for others regardless of their authority or station. That's cool. Liberator. I have a feeling chaotic good is probably going to be the most popular, just because you're committed to defending the freedom of others. You gain the liberating step champion's reaction and the lay on hands devotion spell. So all three get the lay on hands devotion spell. They must have included it in the. So you might be asking from like a from a writing perspective, why would the writers of the rulebook include the same thing in all three options? Well, I can tell you it's probably because all good champions get the lay on hands devotion spell, but there will be, when they release new and additional character options, almost certainly neutral and evil champions will be among the first, I would assume, and they'll probably get different devotion spells. So liberator's tenets respect the choice of others, respect the choices others make over their own lives. You can't force someone to act in a particular way or threaten them if they don't. You must demand and fight for others' freedom to make their own decisions. You may never engage in or countenance slavery or tyranny. Cool. Deific weapon. You zealously bear your deity's favored weapon. If it is uncommon, you gain access to it. If it is a simple weapon, increase the damage die by 1 step. Super cool. And then your cause gives you a special reaction. So these are the reactions that we just heard about. If an enemy retributive strike, the trigger enemy damages your ally, and both your ally and the enemy are within 15 feet. The ally gains resistance to all damage equal to 2 plus your level. Wow. If the foe's in reach, make a melee strike against it. So 15 feet doesn't necessarily mean that they're within a melee reach of you. But regardless, as long as they're within 15 feet, you can use this reaction. They get the resistance. And then if the foe is in reach, you can't take any movement as part of the reaction. But if you don't need to make a strike, you can make a melee strike against it. Cool. Glimpse of redemption. Same trigger. Your foe hesitates under the weight of sin, and visions of redemption play in their mind's eye. The foe must choose one of the following options: that the ally is unharmed, or that the ally gains resistance 2 plus your level, and then they become enfeebled. So it's like, do you choose to not really hurt the person, or you're going to deal with a condition if you choose to, and they're still not going to get hurt as bad? That is pretty great. Liberating step. If an enemy damages, grabs, or grapples your ally, you immediately free them from the restraint. If the trigger was that your ally taking damage that gain resistance, ally can attempt to break free. They either attempt a new saving throw against one such effect that allows a save, or attempt to escape as a free action. If they can move, the ally can step as a free action, even if they don't need to escape. Cool. Cool. So before we do this, let's go ahead and jump to the, let's jump and check out the deities, which I believe were listed on page 437, because I'm not going to be editing this. Show you guys get to see my actual desktop. Oops. I should probably just jump. I think this was the page. Yep. All right, deities. We got to look at options that give you lawful good. So Abadar, Master of the First Vault. Society is the skill that you gain. Your favorite, you would use a crossbow, which might give you reason to focus in dexterity. Can't be Asmodeus. Yeah, you can't. Callistra, the mischievous goddess known as the savored sting. Lust, revenge, and trickery. Oh, I didn't read an anathema. Engage in banditry or piracy, steal, or undermine a law-abiding court. Okay. I probably wouldn't allow Callistria, even though alignment allows chaotic good. It just seems like it's not. I don't know if that doesn't really align with what I think of as a liberator. Like, the edicts is to pursue your personal freedom and seek hedonistic thrills. And I guess, maybe I'm chaotic good if, as a liberator, I guess the chaotic part is you don't care what the person's doing as long as they have the freedom to do so. So yeah, okay. Favorite weapon is a whip. All right. Caden Kalain, the drunken hero, ascended from mortal life on a drunken dare, becoming the god of ale, freedom, and wine. Become too consumed by love or a need for revenge. Let a slight go unanswered. So you can't be too consumed by a need for revenge, but you can't let a slight go unanswered. You can't waste alcohol for Caden, be mean or standoffish when drunk, or own a slave. Athletics, a rapier. Cool. Desna, Song of the Spheres, dreams, luck, stars, and travelers. You cannot cause fear or despair. You can't cast nightmare or use similar magic to disrupt corrupt dreams, engage in bigoted behavior. Lawful neutral good or chaotic neutral or chaotic good. Excuse me. Oof. Acrobatics, star knife. Cool. Very cool. Lawful good, our first lawful good god or deity. Erastil, the old Deadeye, god of family, farming, hunting, and trade. Abandon your home in its time of need. Choose yourself. You can't choose yourself over your community. You can't tarnish your reputation. You can't tell lies. Love that. I think great fun, great creativity comes when you are restricted. And when you are restricted to only being able to tell the truth, that gives the player more ability to be creative, I believe, personally. Survival skill, longbow weapon, very cool. Gorham is not on our list as a possibility for champions. Gajra is a deity of two aspects known as the wind and the waves, nature, sea, and the weather, popular for druids and those who seek to preserve the wilds. Bring civilization. You can't bring civilization to intrude on the wild. You cannot create undead. And you cannot despoil areas of natural beauty. You get the survival skill. Favorite weapon is a trident. Dope ass weapon. Emodie. Many paladins follow her faith, okay? Edicts, be temperate, fight for justice and honor, hold valor in your heart. You cannot abandon a companion in need, dishonor yourself, refuse a challenge from an equal. Intimidation skill, longsword. Very cool. Rory, the master of masters. God of history, knowledge, and self-perfection. Promotes discipline and teaches those that master themselves find the greatest benefits the world can provide. Be humble, help others perfect themselves, hone your body, mind, and spirit to a more perfect state, practice discipline. Also be good for a monk. You cannot become addicted to a substance, destroy an important historical text, or repeatedly fail to maintain self-control. Lawful neutral available, and lawful good. Any lawful. So that's a lawful good champion right there. Athletics, fist weapons. So that is absolutely a monk deity. How many we got of these? Not too many. Lamashtu does not count. Nethys does, the all-seeing eye, the god of magic, nature of destruction and preservation. You should be seeking out magical power to use it. You cannot pursue mundane paths over magical ones. Interesting. Skill and Arcana, staff weapon. Interesting. That would be pretty cool cleric, like an Arcana domain cleric would be very probably a worshiper of Nethys. Norgorber is not available. Pharasma is ancient and powerful beyond even most other gods. The Lady of Graves presides over birth, death, fate, and prophecy. She judges the souls of all who perish from her throne in the boneyard. The natural cycle of birth and death, the river of souls, is not disrupted. You cannot create undead, desecrate a corpse, rob a tomb. That makes sense. Medicine, dagger, very cool. Saren Ray, the Dawn Flower, goddess of healing, honesty, redemption, and the sun. Redeem evil wherever possible, or else destroy it swiftly. You cannot create undead. You cannot lie. You cannot deny a repentant creature an opportunity for redemption or fail to strike down evil. You get medicine, fight with a scimitar. Shellen, the Eternal Rose, goddess of art, beauty, love, and music. Very cool. She's one day seeking to redeem her own corrupted brother, Zon Kuthon. You can't destroy art or allow it to be destroyed unless saving a life or pursuing greater art. Refuse to accept surrender. Crafting or performance with fight with a glaive. That's my personal favorite. Torag, the dwarven deity, father of creation, god of the forge, protection, and strategy. Can't tell lies or cheat someone, intentionally create inferior works, or show mercy to the enemies of your people. Crafting skill, Warhammer. And then neither of these two are... Yeah. You can be an atheist in Pathfinder. That's great. But not for our champions. All right. Let's jump back to our champion and we can read up on some of their additional abilities before wrapping this up. Shield block. You gain the shield block general feat, a reaction that lets you reduce damage with your shield. Makes sense. Divine ally. So you can shoot a blade ally, a shield ally, or a steed ally. A spear to battle dwells within your weapon. Select one weapon when you make your daily prep. In your hands, the weapon gains the effect of a property rune. For a champion following the good tenets of good, choose disrupting, ghost touch, returning, or shifting. You also gain the weapon's critical specialization effect. Shield ally, a spirit of protection, dwells within your shield. In your hands, the shield's hardness increases by 2, and its HP and BT increase by half. Steed ally, you get a young animal companion as a mount. Ordinarily, your animal companion is one that has the mount special ability, such as a horse. You can select one, but this ability, a different one, but this ability doesn't grant it the mount special ability. Very cool. Access to a mount at 3rd level. It's pretty great. One that was delivered onto you by your deity. Pretty cool. Divine Smite at level 9. It adds an additional bonus. Persistent good damage equal to your charisma modifier based on your champion's reaction. Cool. Exalt at 11th level. Another basically boost to your... Oh, it's basically a buff when you use your champion's reaction. Each ally within 15 feet of you can spend a reaction to strike the target with a -5 penalty. With Redeemer, you can protect allies. When using Liberating Step, if your ally doesn't attempt to break freedom effect, you and all allies within 15 feet can step, in addition to the triggering ally. Cool. 19th level, Hero's Defiance is a 19th level devotion spell, which would be pretty cool. Oh, you can take a feat to get your deity's initial domain spell, which is cool, if you want that added magic bonus. A feat allows you, as a paladin, you can use your your champion strike with a ranged weapon. It looks like the other feats basically give a bump up to your... So you can either take an additional spell or get a bonus to your reaction. Dragon Slayer Oath. You're sworn to slay evil dragons and get some circumstantial bonuses based on when you're fighting one. Fiend's Bane Oath. Similar, but with fiends. Shining Oath. Similar, but with undead. And you're adding new tenants to your code. This one is just wicked evildoers. 4th level, you can get a you get a reduction to fear and to your allies. Divine Health. +1 status bonus to saves against diseases. Mercy action. If the next action you use is to cast Lay on Hands, you can attempt to counteract a fear effect or an effect imposing the paralyzed condition on the target. In addition, cool, so your Lay on Hands can remove some certain effects. Attack of Opportunity. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Yep, that's pretty cool. A Saren Ray Redeemer. Yeah, that's cool. Yep. You can level up your mount if you chose the Steed ally. If you took the Blade ally, you can take a feat. This is where you can use an action that till the start of your next turn, your strikes deal an extra 4 good damage, increasing to 6 if you have the master proficiency. Cool. If you really do like, even if you're dipping into more arcane or, what did they call it? Divine magic. Got another one where you can get another spell from your Deities spell list. You can take a feat to get a second ally and gain its benefits. Very cool. Wouldn't be bad at this point to take the Steed if you hadn't already. Circumstantial, but cool. All this seems really cool. Whoa. Radiant Blade Spirit, you can add a flaming and any aligned properties like holy. That's just cool. Blade of Justice. This 2-action strike deals 2 extra weapon damage dice if the target of your strike is evil. Whether or not the target's evil, it applies all the effects that normally apply in a retributive strike. And you convert all that physical damage from the attack into good damage. Nice. So here's potentially a ranged focused. I'm super interested to look at weapons, gang. Really interested to look at weapons because it's so just kind of like, there's no real mechanical benefit to certain things, and no one in 5th edition would ever willingly choose a whip as their main weapon. Seems like that's not the case in Pathfinder. Totally could. Divine Wall. All spaces adjacent to you are difficult terrain for your enemies. That's nice. That's cool. Very cool. Excuse me, chat. Yeah, so it just looks like the rest of this is just kind of leveling up certain stuff. 20th level, you can then kind of take your last, leveled up to based on your divine ally. So this is really cool. I really like this champion. I think, like I said earlier, I think giving hard tenets that your character cannot break. Increasing the constraints on your character is a great way of increasing creativity, I think. When you just have a blank sheet of paper and you can do whatever, sometimes without a lot of effort, you can take, the path of least resistance. But by creating constraints for yourself, you already know the size of the area you get to play in, and it's a little I have found that for me and a lot of folks that I play with and have run games for, by knowing the size of the area you're allowed to play in, it allows you to be more creative with the actions chosen. So I highly encourage you, hey, like if you're thinking about doing a champion, try it out. Try a lawful good paladin. Yeah, I use that term correctly because it's a lawful good option. Like, go out there, don't lie, be a good person, help people, even if you've got some, low lifes in your adventuring party. Make it interesting. Talk with talk with the other players in your GM beforehand, but it's a worthwhile discussion. Don't just assume, because there's a chaotic neutral rogue or bard in the party, it would be really annoying to have a lawful good character. That's not, like, if you talk about it beforehand and as a part of a session 0, that doesn't have to be the case. A great example of this would be Anna Prosser's character in Wizards of the Coast official stream dice camera action, especially during the first kind of season where they run through Curse of Strahd. Well worth checking out, even though that show is on hiatus for drama. All right. That is going to be it for me and the champion. Coming up next, I believe, is the cleric. So we're going to stay on this divine magic, and since we'll take a look at probably the rest of the deities next episode as we investigate more clerics. And hopefully we've got options for some neutral clerics instead of just the good ones like we were looking at here today. If you liked this video, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more of this, why not go ahead and subscribe to my channel, get notified whenever I potentially go live in the future or whenever I upload a new video. If you have comments or questions, feel free to post them below the video in the comments section, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at @ZachHall_. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.